like, this is good. And then after a few weeks, they were doing some ridiculously crazy activities using Google Drawings and different skills. So that goes along with all of us that are in technology. If we just give them a start on a pathway, the kids will outperform even what we think they can do. So that Bloom Door online learning gamification push that we did all year helped the fifth grade in general, but it also helped me. So I was able to take some of that learning. I could not bring in I wanted to bring in early on into NTI. I wanted to bring in gamification. I left that in the past because that was a little too much. But going forward, that would be something that I would like to look at, is how to gamify even more. I did gamified by the clicking of the slides that people can see if they go to Bloom. You can see how we kind of gamified it, but I meant like earning badges and different other gamification strategies.
And Jack, I think that is what we're really looking at for summer learning. How can we make this fun and gamify our summer learning program and send kids on adventures? So I might need to recruit you for some thought partnerships. So my question, Jack, from your school that already had pretty strong digital transformation strategy already. You guys have strong access and you have very innovative teachers. So 2 questions. Give some shout outs to some of your teachers who have really shined brightly during this time. And then I also want to know, where is your team headed next as we build the ramp for the next school year?
Yeah, so I can tell you fifth grade is different than all other grades. So they do PBL, project-based learning, throughout the year. We called it PBL Junior because of NTI, it's a little less than in brick and mortar. And I've been really impressed with not only the plans of the teachers, but how they walk the students through PBL online. And it's been, it's kind of disguises the learning. When you do PBL right, it kind of disguises the learning that they're doing. Now, rigor has always been a question for me personally for NTI, because I think for the rigor that we're used to, you need a teacher hovering over you in the classroom instead of expecting parents to do that. So that's why it's kind of like PBL. Everything is almost light, PBL light, in elementary especially. So the fifth grade teachers, they've really done a really great job of integrating PBL into a digital world. We have a teacher in second grade, Miss Davis. She created her own site, and the parents love it. But it is, when I think of like rigor, she is pushing that rigor barrier. So she's done a great job of bringing in the tech, but also using that tech and creating a Google site to help her keep rigor up a little higher than what even I think is possible.
Maybe we could feature her next week on a session. I think that's what we're really looking for, those NTI stars. And so we'll need to follow up after this and get her on an episode next week so she can show the rest of us what how she's been able to increase rigor. You have a lot of fans in the chat. Sade, are you still there? Are you seeing all these fans?
Yes, I am.
Okay, you want to give some of the teachers at Bloom a shout out that are over there in that chat? They're big Dr. Jacobs fans, I can tell you that.
I think we have a Treva Werner. I'm having hard times this morning with my talking. I think I took it too easy this weekend.
Yeah, Miss Franklin. Hi, Miss Franklin. She's kindergarten teacher.
Geraldine is over there in the chat, and you have a lot of fans. And I've noticed on Twitter, your teachers have been very celebratory about your digital leadership. So they're lucky to have you, Jack. Where are you going next year? Like, now that we've lived through this, we have to do digital learning this way. Where are you going to go next with your team?
Digitally or in general, I think the first step, getting back to brick and mortar is catching up. Like, how do we do 1.5 years in a year within a year? So I think a lot of our training with teachers and our time with teachers and the time we give teachers will be on how do we get our kindergartners rising up. That's a lot of our kindergarten teachers. You were named, both of those are kindergarten teachers. They didn't have those in the months of school, which are really important for many different reasons. When they come in as first graders, they're going to be a lot like kindergartners. So how do we support first grade teachers? And so I don't have the answer to that. I typically go to our teachers. They are really great. We have a good relationship. I put out some visionary, wild ideas, and then they bring me back, or they give me the path. Sometimes I don't know the path, so I will reach out. Really, with the team, I'm going to give them time to talk digitally. I think for me, I've really liked how NTI has pushed me to think of gifted and talented access in a different way. I think now all teachers that we've been through all of this at Bloom, we now have an easy way to provide gifted and talented services, or one way of giving gifted and talented services to our students across all grades. And, going forward with NTI, if we have to do it again, I'm interested in seeing what the district is going to do, because as much as because the teachers do all the planning, and then I put up all of the plans onto the site. They're really slides, but I try to make the slides look like a site. So I get to see every lesson and put up every lesson. So that's a lot of work. I enjoy doing it. So going forward, I would like some help from the district if they have something that we can just put up and go into it.
Great. Well, Jack, you have a great team out there, and it is Teacher Appreciation Week. So happy Teacher Appreciation Week to all of those teachers who are tuning in. We were talking about Highland Coffee and how those vector art pictures are posted at Highland Coffee, and that's been really cool to see. Great stuff going on at your school. So now we're going to shift gears, and we are going to talk with Faith Stroud. Faith is a dear friend of mine. We go all the way back to the Ed Camp, Kentucky days. You came out to my school a long time ago, and we've been talking about digital leadership for years. You were the first school in JCPS to go one-to-one Chromebooks. Talk a little bit about your journey and how your work in building the foundation has led to where you are today.
Well, I know my teachers were the way they felt proud of their previous work, because when we switched over to NTI, when they're talking to their teacher peers at other schools, they now realize how far ahead of the curve they've already been. So some of the hurdles other schools have, we didn't have, because our teachers were used to Google Classroom. The kids were used to logging in regularly. We didn't have to do as much troubleshooting with giving kids passwords and things of that nature. So they felt really good as teachers where they were with using technology. I think the blessing in all of this is my teachers are already really excited for next year, because the NTI has made them, like Emerald Lagasse would say, like bam, they've kicked their teaching up a notch. And so we've been doing end of year conferencing with teachers, and several of teachers have asked if we could purchase Screencastify, because now they're realizing and seeing the potential of the power of pause.
Yes.
They create some videos, and I talked to one teacher, she was like, Ms. Stroud, I'm making sure that I really make good videos, because guess what? I could use these next year. And I'm like,
Smarter, not harder. Smarter, not harder. Love it.
So that's been really exciting, especially since when you talk about digital agility, we're one-to-one with Chromebooks, but we're going to kick it up a notch again by becoming one-to-one with iPads through the Verizon Innovative Learning Schools initiative. And so we're already like thinking about next year and what are the possibilities of whatever you're going to be able to do when every kid for sure has a device, and what will that look like, sound like, feel like. And so I'm happy that they're pumped about Screencastify, creating videos. I have some like rockstar teachers, like I have them share videos with me, and I'm learning. I have some technology gurus that were undercover.
Okay.
My PE teacher at Stewart, Miss Smoot, her videos, they have text spinning on the screen and arrows pointing, and she's been doing awesome videos to push the kids to exercise outside and do different things like that. My art teacher at Frost, he has really good editing skills, and he put together some awesome videos. They're like Bob Ross-like videos, where the scholars can follow along with him doing artwork. And plus, it's cool that they get to see their teacher doing the artwork. I have 3 math teachers at Frost collaborating on math videos, but what's beautiful about their videos, you could see mathematical discourse, and they're modeling what thinking about mathematics looks like to the scholars. And I want to give a shout out to Ms. Tyson, Ms. Tucker, and Ms. Atkins about their work. I had a math teacher at Stewart, Ms. Henson. She literally had the camera in her backyard, and she was modeling for them how to find the perimeter around the fence using a real fence. So now they're even seeing how you can really bring the real world application into it. And so I've been really pleased with what's going on. When I think about even going into the future, when you think about creating a personalized learning path for kids, and you're seeing the possibilities of what could happen because of technology, I am now pushing my thinking towards personalized virtual ESS, where you don't need a bus.
Yes.
Bus. If a kid had a solid 30 minutes of one-on-one time with a teacher, think about how powerful that could be. And so I'm trying to figure out how could I leverage next year. I'm going to start experimenting now over the summer with ESS and doing some type of virtual ESS to help catch up people with NTI work. But even strategically thinking about those who need standards recovery and having one-on-one, or even at the most 5 kids in a small group to make it manageable. But if you can have true differentiated personalized ESS support through technology, you're not dependent on the bus. You could coordinate if a teacher's available at 5 and the kid's available at 5, or if a teacher's available at 7 and the kid's available at 7 at night. You could really create a powerful personalized learning mechanism that could close gaps. So that's going to be my passion project going into next school year. I think that could be a game changer.
And we'll have to have you back on the digital learning channel once you figure all that out. Remember, we were just talking about shattering the silos. Like, once you kind of pioneer that, we'd love to have you spread the good idea of how to leverage for ESS.
Especially knowing that if my kids are going to each have an iPad next year, and the iPads come with a data plan, there's no excuses.
That's right.
That's where my thought process is right now. But I've been really pleased with the work of the staff at Robert Frost 6th Grade Academy and Stewart Academy. And another note, one of the things that we did to help for our parents and our families and households to help make this work manageable, we decided up front to structure our NTI where each subject has a day to help scholars stay organized.
Ooh, I like that.
On Monday, all your math videos are going to drop with the assignments.
Nice.
Tuesday is ELA. Wednesday is like science. Thursday, social studies. Friday is special areas, social skills, and things of that nature. And then every teacher has dedicated times where they have virtual online meetups that are optional, but you can always get one-on-one help that way or through email. And so I think our families have been appreciative because if nothing else, did you do your math on Monday? Like,
Right.
it makes it easy to communicate, because when you go from elementary to middle or high school, you have 7 different courses in one day. We didn't want to overwhelm our parents with having to do 7 courses every day. So we try to structure it to make it more manageable. And we use Google Classroom as our primary platform, but they still communicate whatever assignments were assigned on Google Classroom to our teacher portal sites. And then also going into next year, our next big push when it comes to parent engagement is going to be, sometimes it takes you to see it to understand what it is. But I think a powerful piece that sometimes we're missing with Google Classroom is the ability to add parents on.
Yes.
And when you add parents on, they have the option of either getting a daily or a weekly newsletter, and it kind of gives them a summary of what's going on in Google Classroom. And so regardless if you're physically truly doing the assignment right then and there in Google Classroom, next year we're going to make it to where we communicate everything through Google Classroom and get parents signed up for that piece, because I think that's going to be a parent engagement game changer as well.
Faith, before we transition over to Willie, I do want to give you a shout out. The teachers at your school, when we talk about digital agility, they are Google certified and Apple teacher certified for the most part, aren't they?
Yes.
That is just so exciting.
We're working hard on that.
And you know,
very awesome. Go ahead, Sade.
someone in the chat, Dr. Erica Lawrence, said that you are her hero. So that's a good shout out for you.
Thank you, Erica. You know I love you too, girl.
And you guys can also check out Faith's episode on the Digital Learning Channel. She's also been on Kentucky Go Digital as a statewide leader. Before you go one-to-one, Faith has outlined 10 things all principals should think about before they go one-to-one. It's on KentuckyGoDigital.com and JCPSDigitalLearning.com. Dear friend and a fellow pioneer in this field, I'm so proud of
Got it.
And we are ready to rock. It is 2:30. I'm Stephen Durham. I'll be your moderator, and we are here with Cheryl Bibby. And Cheryl is going to share a very cool tool that a lot of people have been interested in lately and using with their students, Jamboard. So take it away, Cheryl. Thank you.
All right. I do not know how to show my face and my screen, so I'm just going to...
That's perfectly fine. Yeah.
Keep going from there. So this is Jamboard, Voice, Choice, and Collaboration. I am Cheryl Bibby, and I have been in the district. I think this is my 23rd year, so I've been here a while, and I am a deeper learning resource teacher. And from there, I started thinking about Jamboard. I talked to a former colleague of mine, Leanna Brennick, and we were kind of having conversation about NTI. What are we going to do? And one thing I wanted to do is increase voice and choice. And she said, well, what about Jamboard? So I started looking at it. I realized it was an interactive whiteboard, that we already had access to it in the G Suite. So went there, and I've been loving it ever since. So I'm going to share with you that, some of the jams that I have created. And hopefully you all can take it from there and make them even better and use them in your classrooms. So some of the things you can do with Jamboard, of course, you can collaborate and share and create and respond, and teachers can do it with each other and students can do it with each other, and you can all do it together. It's been a great resource. This is the question that I came up with when talking to her. I said, how can teachers increase voice, choice, and collaboration among their students during this time? We know that student voice is important. We still have to find opportunities for them to share who they are, what they're thinking, what their passions are, what their hobbies are, what they're interested in. We still want to hear those things. And Jamboard was just one of the ways that I came up with that would allow students to continue that relationship building, just as if they were in the classroom. So I thought about my own classroom way back when, and I know that I always started with a morning meeting. Now I'm going to take you through the jams, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on how Jamboard works. I think Elaine is going to be doing a session more on the tips and tricks and how it works. But I'm just going to show you the jams that I came up with and how I planned on using them. And then hopefully you can play around with it and take it from there. So here's my first one. I always started with a morning meeting. So the first jam I created was just that. It was a morning meeting jam. Now I'm going to take you right to it so you can see what it would look like in Jamboard. And this is what you get. It's really just a blank board. And what I have done is added some numbers to this board because I wanted to make sure that you would be able to, keep up with what kid answered and when. So these are just clip art that I found. And in our morning meeting, I might say to them, find your number. In my classroom, all the kids had a number. They knew their number. I didn't always, go by their name on their folders and on their work. They knew their number. So I put a sticky note here with numbers already on it. So I would model for them that you click it, you make a duplicate, and you can show me how you're feeling that day. I could put names and they could respond on their name just this way. And I would still know who responded and how they're feeling. Now, of course, if day after day I'm getting sad faces from my number 9 student here, I can make a phone call. I can have a conversation. I can find out why they're sad every time they come to our morning meeting. And maybe that's something that I can work on with them. This board has extra boards here, as you can see. So I could keep this going day after day. I could start on another board and have different ways to have morning meeting. But this was just one that I decided on. It was easy for kids to do. They can just kind of tell how they're feeling that morning.
That's great. And the students can access that. So, for example, if you made a Jamboard and wanted to share it with your students while they're at home during NTI, would they just access it through the link, or would they access it through their Google account as well?
They could access it through the link. I'll show you how I have things in my Google Classroom that the kids would have access
great.
to. So we'll get to that too in just a moment. The other thing that I always had in my classroom was a wonder wall. I always wanted kids to have a place that they could question and wonder and think about anything that we just read or something they saw on TV or whatever it was they wanted to wonder about. I always had a wonder wall. So that was the next jam that I created. And it's just that. It's just a wall where they can wonder. And you can change the background. So here I kind of made it look like a blackboard, but I could have had blue. I could have the lined paper, just a few background changes, but I wanted to go with black for this wall. And kids, you can see, we just kind of made up some that kids could possibly say, where does coffee come from and why can't kids have it? I wish, I could help my neighbor, blah, blah, blah. Just different ways that kids might wonder about what's going on in the world, what's going on around them. I also made this in drawing, this little heart. And that's the way that I would respond to kids after they have put something on the wall. I can respond to them in this clip art, and they know that that came from me. So this kid is saying, I wish I could help my neighbor get groceries. I'm responding with, this is an awesome thought. How can I help? So now I maybe will have more conversation with this student about why their neighbor needs groceries and what's going on, and how can we possibly turn that into a project. And I'm pausing because I cannot see the chat or anything. So you just tell me what.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Okay. Perfect. All right. So this was another board. It's just a wall. Once again, I could use numbers for them to respond. And then that way I'll know which kid is saying what without them putting their name on it. That's another possibility.
Do have a couple questions. Mm-hmm. Cheryl, is this an app as well? Could students use this and access it through their an iPad or an iOS device?
Yes, it works on all devices. Oops, I'm not sure what I just did.
You might have to go back to your screen share. You might have stopped it.
Oh.
And while you do that, let me pull up this other question. Will all students have access to be able to change someone else's number?
Yes, and that is one of the issues with Jamboard. It's a problem that, nothing is locked down. So you are able to go into others' work. You can change things. You can make it into a PDF, but for the most part, yes, it is wide open for such issues as those.
And while you're getting going, I'd like to speak on that as well. We have a lot of teachers, that now that they're using technology for their classroom, like, okay, what about students that do this during a meet? Or what about students that do this when we're using a Jamboard? And just like teachers set their expectations in their classroom, you're going to have to set your expectations for these virtual classrooms and the technology tools you're using. So you just say, this is the expectation for how we're going to use Jamboard, and teach them that digital citizenship and following the expectation of your classroom and how the teacher's doing things, even if they're not in the physical classroom.
Yes. Okay. Am I back to sharing? I'm not sure.
You are. And then you can just click up there. Yep. And you're good to go. We see the wonder wall.
Yes, thank you. So that was one that I had created. Then I thought about how can you get student voice through current events. So just, a number of things. You could post a picture. I always, in my classroom, and once again, I always thought about my classroom during this whole process. What would I have going on? Well, I always collected pictures from old calendars, from, kids' album covers, things like that. I always had things in the room to spark ideas and to get them thinking. So this is just a picture, of course, of Thunder over Louisville. I'm hoping that kids will respond, and I'm looking for very different responses here. That's the thing about this voice and choice. Once I start talking a little bit more about the choice, I'm looking for nuggets of information here that the kids are giving me. For example, this one says, my dad has a food truck during Thunder, and I work with him on that truck. I'm seeing that, and I'm thinking right away, oh my goodness, there's an idea for a possible project that this kid could do. They could interview their dad. They could talk about how to run a food truck. So I'm looking at all their sticky notes and thinking about the information that they're giving me and how I can help them mine that information for a little more choice and projects that they can possibly do. Here's another one. I love fireworks. My dog runs and hides when they hear them or when he hears them. So I'm thinking there. I'm always thinking as I read their sticky notes about what projects and what ideas could possibly come from their work. Once again, current event. A lot of you probably saw this in the news. Well, so did your students. So why not talk about it? Is there a message here? What does this art say to you? And let the kids respond to it. Once again, this might turn into a project for kids. They might walk their neighborhood and look for more art and decide what it is saying to them. They might start their own art project. They might write a poem about some of the art that they see. So I'm always using the Jamboard to hear their voice and then to take them to the next step of possible projects.
That's a great idea. I love that.
Oh, great. Thank you. Okay, so and once again, just a little bit more voice through content. I didn't spend a lot of time on content. I've seen a few of the other virtual PDs that have gone on, and I know that there are others talking about content and Jamboard, but I do want you to know that there are some opportunities there. For example, this content board with the flower growing through the cracks, I got that from our science coach, Charlotte Ivy, and she was like, yeah, this is exactly what second grade is doing right now. They need to be thinking about how something can grow this way. So what if this is a Jamboard that starts with a before? What do you see? And kids are now answering to what they see. Then I'm going to do a live lesson, or I'm going to provide an ebook, or I'm going to provide some information on this topic. Then I'm going to put the Jamboard back up, and hopefully I can use it as a formative assessment. Have they learned some new information? Did they gain from the activity? And now they've got this picture in their mind that will help them to, grasp on to the new information that they've learned. Same thing with math. This came from Illustrative Mathematics, their site. Talking to Elizabeth Reed, I'm all about collaborating. So I talk to everybody and get ideas. Elizabeth said, yeah, this can be done with number talks. And I think they're going to be doing some work with that in PD as well. But here's a picture already. Here's the questions already. If you remove the piece that asks them to describe the number of duck feet, you could put that on sticky notes and the kids could work on that as an activity as well while you're watching them work, if they are working from the link in your Google Classroom. This one is going on right now. It's called Estimation Extravaganza. I got this from Susan Wine, the AIC at Dunn. She just put some almonds in a 1/4 cup, looks probably on her kitchen counter, and asked the kids, how many almonds are in this cup? This is a school-wide activity. So if you look at her board, there are probably, I would say, maybe 4 more boards that look exactly like this one, with kids trying to estimate how many might be in there. Now, I can think of a lot of projects that could come from this. Kids could do their own shows and estimating and thinking about how they do this kind of work on, they could do it on their Google, in the Google Classroom. They could make YouTube videos. She's just kind of sparking them to think about how they can work together to estimate. So this can be done in a lot of different ways. So kudos to Susan, and thanks for sharing that. So a lot of different ideas here. That's just a few of the content. I'm going to take you to my Google Classroom and show you how it actually looks there. My Google Classroom is a practice class. I have 2 students that I work with, unfortunately, just to see what's here. So I put everything in classwork, nothing really in the stream. And I have my current events, as you can see. I've got the before and after activity. I've got the practice Jamboard here. And I've got the Thunder over Louisville. This goes with that activity. So I've actually have a clip of Thunder over Louisville that they can view. So from there, they can kind of see Thunder, and then they can add to the Jamboard that we had created about Thunder. Whoops, there. So now I've connected those 2 pieces. They've actually watched Thunder over Louisville, and now they're still thinking about, what they wonder. Some poems might come from this. Some narratives might come from this work. There's a lot that could come from that, and I've supported them now with a video in the classroom. Another one, I always have take a virtual trip. So from here, I've got a trip to Belle of Louisville. It takes them on a virtual trip. That might spark them to add something to the Wonder Wall. It's here. They can go right to it. They have your choice reading. They have a daily log that they keep. And once again, that can go on the Wonder Wall. Their ideas can go there. They've got article of the day. They've got read and respond. And then this activity, I've connected it to a Time for Kids. I hope you all have all downloaded your Time for Kids magazine. because they are free digitally right now.
I did not know that. That's good information.
Yes, they are. You can load them up. So I've got them reading Protecting the Public. They're going to read this article here, but all of the articles are right here. They're going to read that article, and then they're going to create their own Jamboard. So they'll go here after reading that article. And once again, my kids wouldn't know their number. So number 1 would work on this chart. 2, 3, 4, I could number them so they would know which board was theirs. Of course, like you said, Steve, I would make sure that they have the parameters, they know the rules, it would be set. And then a kid might put a drawing of the virus, they might clip the book, they might put pictures of washing their hands, anything that they've learned after reading that article that I've provided for them.
That's great. And yeah, like I said, we have students collaborating on Google Docs. Students are going to be able to, using Google Classroom and things like that, and using the technology to work together, there's going to be more transparency than this was my paper. I put my name on it. I turn it in. So students might be able to see other students' work. Students might be able to mess with other students' work. And you just have to set those expectations that that's just not how we're going to do things, just like you would in the classroom.
Exactly. So that's what, I'm trying to get to the point that I'm using all of their sticky notes for me. I'm using it so that I can guide them toward bigger projects, bigger ideas, deeper learning, hence the deeper learning resource teacher. I'm always looking for ways to help them go deeper. So I've looked at science, just creativity, current events, all these different things. But the goal is to get them here. Student projects, having a choice of some activities that they can work on from home. They can do some research. They might even start a campaign. There's problem-based learning. There's all kinds of writing that can take place. I'm just mining their thoughts and their passion for what could become a deeper project. And if you look here, my colleague, Joe McKim, created a Genius Hour Journey kind of booklet. And here you'll see, going into her presentation, it's just a booklet. I mean, it really is something that they can go through and follow to get to Genius Hour. So now I've got something that I can do a lesson on. I can go through and I can walk them through their passion. What's your project? I remember that one sticky note that you had and you said this, and I can help them create it into something else. So now they're thinking, oh, was that a thick question? Was that a thin question? How can I plan this out? What can I brainstorm here? So now I'm going right into my Genius Hour passion project thinking with them, but now I'm equipped with their thoughts, their passion, things that they said, things they were curious about. I can now use those to help them get to a deeper learning of their projects.
I love that. And, we're always, good teachers always use the feedback to plan their next steps. And a lot of times it's hard to do if your feedback is on 30 different Google Docs or on 30 different pieces of paper. But to take all that feedback and put it in one spot is great. Love it.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So that's really where all this is leading toward. Yes, I want to hear their voice and I want to know what they're thinking and feeling and wondering. I want all that. But my reason for wanting that is twofold. I mean, of course, I want to build a relationship with my students. You can't get anywhere without that. But the second piece is I want them to start thinking deeply about something they're passionate about, and getting to these projects is actually the choice that I'm talking about for them to, kind of move towards what can I do with what I love, or what can I do with what I'm passionate about. So that's the move there. These are some of the examples. Like if I pulled these sticky notes off of the charts, If one kid's saying the coronavirus scares my little brother, I could maybe work with that kid to think about creating a picture book for their brothers so that they're not afraid anymore. That's the information that I might give back to them. I can move towards, one kid saying, why do trees have flowers and some don't? Well, there's perfect research on trees in your neighborhood. So the possibilities are endless, but we have to start with where they are and what they're interested in. And this Jamboard is a perfect way for helping you to do that. Of course, we can't, have Jamboards without thinking about backpack skills. Who would I be?
Love it.
Think about backpack. So this is a Jamboard, and it says, which success skill do you want to work on from home? Choose a skill, place your name by it. So I'll show you that Jamboard. And it looks like this. And on each board, I've got prepared and resilient learner. Looks like Mandy wants to learn how to be a prepared and resilient learner. Next one, Jennifer wants to work on globally and culturally competent. And I can keep going from there. So hopefully when the kids start putting their names on here, which is just this simple, then I can get a group together. I could have a group of maybe 6 kids or 5 kids or whatever amount of kids that all say they want to learn to be globally and culturally competent. Now, for me as the teacher, I'm ready to work. I'm looking for ideas. I'm thinking of ways that at home they can prove that they are globally and culturally competent. I can pull those kids into a Google Meet and have conversation with them about what does it mean to be? How can we show that from home? Now I've kind of grouped my kids accordingly. If I've got some kids that say, I want to be an effective communicator, I can think back to some of the sticky notes that they had already provided and say, hey, you did say something about a food truck. How does your dad communicate? So now I've got some conversation with us, not even being in a classroom together, but I can walk through some of the information that they've already given me and use it.
That's great. And I love that not only is this a tool that teachers can use, but it's a tool that can help them right now. And they can learn how to use it right now to get that input from students and then carry it forward when things return to the new normal.
Yes, exactly. So that's just, the collaboration. I can show you, for collaboration, your kids can collaborate and your teachers can collaborate. I mean, our department right now has a Jamboard, has a few Jamboards going where we are collaborating on different topics and putting sticky notes on boards. But it's just it's just a whiteboard. And once again, how teachers could come together in PLC and say, how might we teach this math unit? What do you have? What are some ideas? And everybody's kind of posting around and coming up with ideas together on how they can teach this unit, or what ideas do you have for this particular standard? And that may go in the middle, and everyone's kind of posting around ideas. And then from there, when you come together as a PLC, you pull this board up, and now you're ready to have conversation about some of the things that was said. So teachers can use it. Students can collaborate. Once again, you can have up to 20 boards. So you can see I'm flipping through. You can put names on the top of boards so that kids know which board that they are to go to work on. Same thing with teachers. All of it is right here and ready to use. So there you go.
That's great information, Cheryl. Thank you very much. And it looks like we've had a lot of good conversation in the chat, and I don't believe there's any questions right now. Thank you for addressing the couple we had. Yep, and everybody's thanking you for the ideas and loved it. Jamboard is simple but powerful for right now. Yes.
And like I said, I mean, I would love it, eventually if in our district we actually have Jamboards, the actual Jamboard that could be in classrooms. I think that would be awesome. But, until then, I say we keep using what we're using and just go for it from there. So.
And like she said, I know we spent a lot of time talking about Jamboard. At the very beginning, she mentioned it's right there in your Google Drive. So you sign into Google, you click Drive, you click the waffle, you look at your options. Jamboard is one of them. So it's all right there for you.
always been there. And I must have gone to some PD on it at some point. I saw where I clicked on it in like 2019, and I probably clicked and had no idea what to do with it and turned it right off. So sometimes we, aren't ready for it. And I think now I'm noticing that we are totally ready for all that it has to offer.
So you turned it off in 2019 after looking at it once. Then in 2020, you're presenting how to use it. And that's the thing. There's so many teachers out there, and I love that. And I've watched my wife do this. There are teachers that are taking crash courses in technology tools, and they're going to be stronger for it. Yes, it's been tough, but I'm excited about what the future is going to bring, about how we take everything we're learning from this and moving forward. So thank you very much for sharing that.
That was another great session on Jamboard from Cheryl Bibby. So we appreciate her for sharing that information. Up next at our 2:30 session, our 2:30 show, it's going to be with Carrie Gray, Olivia Penland, and Danielle Warren. And the session is called Carrick's Choice Board Journey Using Compelling Questions. And again, I'm Jack Bosley with the Digital Innovation Team, and this is going to be one of our pre-recorded sessions, Carrick's Choice Board Journey. So let me see if I can get that pulled up and start playing for you all.
Our kiddos have clear goals, and we have. We're so excited to be here today. I'm Carrie Graham, the AIC at Carrick, and I've got two teachers here with me if they will introduce themselves. Hi, I'm Danielle Warren. I'm the fourth grade teacher at Carrick.
And I'm Olivia Penland. I'm a kindergarten teacher at Carrick.
So, Elaine, I'm going to be sharing my screen.
Okay. If you need help with turning the captions on, or I know you ladies have been on, I've listened to you while I've gotten to join in too. So if you need help, I know you guys have done this a couple times.
Okay, so sorry about that. So we're here to tell you about our journey at Carrick, creating choice boards using compelling questions. And we really thought in order to begin this discussion, we really need to take our journey all the way back to last summer. That's really where I feel like the heart of our work began. So what we did this past year is really put our heart and soul into focusing on developing and strengthening our PLCs, our grade level PLCs especially. So when we started that work, we went all the way back to what is our mission, what's our vision, and where do we really want to go as a team? So as you see in this photograph, we even got the t-shirt, we're on a mission, because we really were on a mission this year. And this is our leadership team, and we worked very hard along with our staff and community members to revamp our mission and vision into something that would drive all of the decisions we made this year. And with that being said, this team that you see pictured here became the strong driving force behind everything that we do. And our Carrick teachers have gone through a lot of change this year. They have learned an enormous amount, all the way from guided reading with Jan Richardson, like most people, to piloting a math program with illustrative math this year in elementary. So they have tackled a lot, and just mentioning those two things doesn't really speak to the volume of new things they've tried this year. So I really wanted to just hit on this because ILT has really been a strength in helping move our teams. And I wonder if Danielle or Olivia would like to add from their point of view working with ILT.
I would love to add. So I will say that we honestly could not have done this without Carrie Gray driving this for us this year. She started ILT over the summer. We all just kind of became one big family this year, starting at Carrie's house over the summer, talking about our vision, our mission, these T-shirts, just down to having fun together. ILT really formed a strong bond, and our team leads seriously, truly lean on one another, and we positively influence each other. If one of us is on board, we are all in. We text each other, ask to see what each other's team is working on, and then we usually carry that influence back to our team. And our teams really buy in because ILT is so strong and dedicated. We are literally like a big group of friends. We enjoy our time together. There are a lot of group texts that happen, just trying to feed off of ideas from one another and ways to get our teams going. And it has really kind of lit a fire under our staff this year. So I would say we are truly on a mission together this year.
And I would agree with Danielle. I think that because ILT is so strong, it helps fuel the fire elsewhere throughout the teams. And, everybody just has the same end goal in mind. Everybody just wants to do what's best for the kids.
Thank you, guys. These two ladies are obviously on our leadership team, so it's nice to hear from their perspective as well. And taking all that information, ILT actually met before spring break. So if you go back and remember, we weren't even working back then, but our ILT thought it was critical that we met as soon as we could to get the plan in motion for NTI. And during our ILT meeting, we discussed having choice and voice and some flexibility for our parents seemed to be the most important thing to be able to offer during this time. So we loved what the district was doing with choice boards, and our parents were giving us really good feedback. So we decided every grade level was going to create a choice board each week, along with daily teacher lessons. And we tried to get as much math and reading and writing in as we could. So you can see laid out here kind of what our plan looked like. And teachers were going to teach lessons to connect to what they were putting on the choice boards. And then we have a staff slide deck where all of our staff are doing read alouds, recording read alouds, and adding comprehension questions. So teachers are pulling from every staff member in the building to showcase a read aloud every day throughout the week. So we just wanted to make sure our kids had access to literature. And so that was one way we were trying to make that happen. So where did we begin? So with our choice board creation, we really were doing kind of what we saw the district doing, and that we were going to create these choice boards. There weren't really a connection or a theme that brought all of the activities together, but we were going to try to hit all of the standards, including all of our special areas on this choice board. And so all of the choices were going to be standards aligned, but as I said, there was not really any interdisciplinary connections. So that was kind of where we started. And then the first week we were doing NTI. I happened upon Ryan New and Suzanne Kramer's creating choice boards using compelling questions PD. They offered on the digital channel, actually. So once I saw that, I just kind of had this aha moment that maybe, just maybe, if I could get all of our teams to go that route, our learning could be much more focused, and it would help frame the learning for the students and make it more meaningful if they were asking questions and researching and doing fun activities that deepened their content knowledge, increased their level of rigor, kept everything driven towards that compelling question. And we know that these compelling question boards would help allow for interdisciplinary tasks, so they could interweave these content areas together. Danielle's going to tell you a couple more reasons why we think compelling question boards were important.
Okay, I can go first.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. I just didn't want Danielle to be confused. So we also decided that it provides student choice and voice in the work. Our choice boards have about 10 activities on them that students can choose from. So they're choosing 5 of the 10. So they're not only choosing what they're doing, but they're also choosing how they submit their work. So we're giving them options. If they want to submit their work via a drawing or a video, sometimes they're doing writing. They are choosing, how they're going to submit, but they're also guiding their own learning and answering their own supporting questions that get them to the compelling question. So because of that, it also sparks student curiosity and increases engagement because they are doing their learning, they're guiding themselves, and they are taking their learning wherever they want to go.
It also creates a purpose for learning. Our kiddos have clear goals, and we have clear goals as a team. The students know what they are working toward, and all activities tie into this. There are truly no filler activities on these choice boards when we're using the compelling questions. It opens the possibility for students to have multiple answers to questions. Our activities might be research-based or open-ended, allowing the students to choose their own avenue. I would say that's especially true when we get to our final task on our compelling questions. The students can take lots of different avenues. It's really cool to see all the different ways it comes together for them. So it's truly a PBL experience for them. It helps students gain awareness of other perspectives. Our students discuss the final projects or activities with one another and hear and see one another's work and point of view. We also include that through some of our provided activities in the research that we're having them take into.
Thank you so much. So as you can see, we had lots of reasons to turn towards building these choice boards around compelling questions. And also, if you listen to Ryan's news session, which I know him and Suzanne are having another session today and tomorrow at 12:30, so you may want to catch that. There's a lot of research backing this compelling question inquiry-based model. So we really wanted to practice including more content into our lessons, and this provided us the time and honestly the grace to do that because we knew we were going to have to fumble through this process, and we wanted to use this time to help ourselves learn how to plan better. So where we are in the process right now, I'll just quickly say that all of our grade levels are now creating these choice boards around compelling questions. I left it open to team leaders and to teams. And for very first week, teachers planned NTI. I already had 3 teams willing to jump on it the first week. Let's jump in, figure out how to do this. By the second week, I was able to show the other 3 teams what they had come up with, and then everybody was on board. So by week 2, every single grade level team was planning in this way, including our special area teachers, which has been such a critical and important component of the work we're doing. We are aligning every content as best we can to this work. So special area teachers are even using supporting questions to create their task as well. Most of our teams are actually using compelling questions for a 2-week period. So I think Danielle has a sample she'll show you in a bit. And so the summative assignment that we are creating is going on to the end of that second week compelling question choice board. So you'll see that. And then also just to reiterate, our teams are amazing. Our teachers do not stop until this work is done. We are still meeting with PLCs every single week. And, generally in school, our PLCs might be 50 minutes, but our teachers are some of the hardest working people I know. I have been in PLCs over 2 hours with some of them because they don't want to give up until they think they've exhausted every idea to make this right. So kudos to our teachers who are really putting in massive amounts of time and effort to make this happen. And so now all of our choice boards are following these questions. We are working towards creating compelling questions and supporting questions. And the tricky part, honestly, is aligning standards to those tasks. That has been hard, but we are working to make sure that's happening as well. So I want to turn this over to Olivia and Danielle so you can hear from their point of view what it is like to plan like this with their team. And they're going to kind of speak to the process of where they started that first week and where they are now in this process. So Olivia, you want to go first?
Yes. So the first week we were creating the choice boards. I think in our mind, we kind of misunderstood. So in our mind, the choice board was more of like a theme. So we were pulling standards that we were working on, but the standards and the activities didn't necessarily help the students answer the compelling questions. So, for example, at the top on the right, it says create a story problem. So we asked students to create. Oh, it left. Can you still see it? Can you guys still see I can't see the.
Yep.
You're Click on the middle pop.
Oh, there we go. Sorry. So the students were asked to create 2 addition and subtraction story problems about spring. So we were thinking weather, spring, that goes, like, we'll do that. But as we started to learn more and things like that, we, decided, okay, these activities are not helping the students to answer these compelling questions. So we moved from that to planning more intentionally. We identify a compelling question first, and then we decide what supporting questions are going to help them get to that compelling question. And then we look at the standards that we're using and then create activities to match those standards. It's really easy to get caught up in like creating these fun assignments and, you can get going really fast and then realize like, hey, this doesn't match what we were supposed to be doing at this time. So that has been a challenge. Like Carrie said, is, making sure that your standards are aligning, but we're working with special area teachers like Carrie said, and they're coming up with questions and activities that match the supporting questions and that are leading the students to the compelling question. So we've come a long way since the beginning. And, we've done much better, and the kids are enjoying it. The engagement is a lot higher. I'll say that I have some kids that complete their 5 assignments and then they are like, Miss Penland, I really want to do this one. And next thing I know, when they turn it in, they have all 10 assignments finished. So it's really exciting to see that. And, that they're doing this much learning and we're able to connect all the different standards and things like that together. So we've really come a long way, and it's been for the better. We're really excited about that.
Thank you for sharing, Olivia. And here's Danielle with 4th grade.
Okay, so 4th grade's journey was very similar to kindergarten's. At first, we came up with our compelling question. It's surrounded with our science standard with structures and functions, and it was how do the structures of living things impact the way they live. We didn't really have supporting questions yet. We weren't really sure exactly how to get going there, so we literally pulled anything we could that could tie into our compelling question. And we were just pulling resources from everywhere, like, oh, this fits for science, this fits for math. And it wasn't terrible. It was just more theme-based for our kiddos with no clear direction. We had no clear final project for them. We did eventually do a final project, but we didn't really, we weren't as intentional with making sure that all of our activities tied into that. The students liked the work. They even theme-based, but we knew that we could be more intentional in guiding them and making sure our activities got there. So what we have really changed too is that now in 4th grade, we start when we plan by doing a compelling question just the same way. So this one is, how does a pandemic affect my community? When we start planning, the first thing we do as a team is we start with the compelling question, start brainstorming all of our potential supporting questions. What are all the different topics that we want to dive into? What do we want our students to be learning? And then we look at our standards that we are currently working on, and we align those with those supporting questions. So making sure that those standards will fit into those supporting questions, and maybe what do we need to change in those supporting questions to make sure that we can get there. We then create our final task so that we know our end goal for our kiddos, make sure that lines up with our supporting questions and our standards. And then we go through and add all of these individual tasks. So what you see here is the week 1 of this choice board. Each week, the students get a new choice board. The second week, as Carrie said, will be their final project. So these are just a few of these supporting questions that we had in week 1 to get them started with how does a pandemic affect my community? All of our activities are super intentional with a clear purpose. There are no fillers on this choice board. The students literally need to understand all of this to be able to get to the end goal. The students have a choice in how they complete each activity. So each activity hits every level of learners. We have students creating videos. We have students creating drawings, diagrams. We have students showing their math work using manipulative websites. It's limitless what the students are doing right now, and they are really diving in and going for it. So whenever we do our supporting questions and we get to our final project, this choice board right here does not show you our final project in 4th grade, but I will tell you that all these supporting questions, how is the pandemic impacting my life directly? How can we protect ourselves? What is a pandemic? All of those supporting questions are leading our students to do the time capsule with the Fraser History Museum in 4th grade. They're going to be creating a video, a piece of art, a digital journal using Jamboard, anything showing how the pandemic affects their community. And they're going to be really tying in all of the different things that they have learned as they have taken on all of these supporting question activities. So we are extremely excited to see what they come up with that. And they're already starting to brainstorm ideas and talk about it. So this might seem very intense, and it looks intense, just sitting here looking at it, thinking where we started and where we are now. But honestly, from a teacher perspective, it has made planning so much easier. It has been challenging at times to tie those standards in, especially math. We all know that math can be very challenging to tie into PBLs. But knowing our clear goal has really helped us find ways to sit together and figure out how to tie it in. And even though math can be very challenging sometimes to tie in, we have made it work. It has tied in. We have not sat here since we started the compelling questions without being able to tie it in. Our students are highly engaged, as Olivia said. I cannot speak to that enough. I have so many kids who are sitting here telling me in office hours, I can't pick just 5. I really want to do this. So they really want to continue to work on other choice boards or choice board opportunities. Everyone is literally all in with this on my team. When we come to plan together, we all sit with this goal. We know, I think it has really helped us to identify our compelling question, our supporting question, so that we have that driving force saying, hey, no, let's stick back to this plan. So that is my biggest advice and the biggest, I think, win for us as a team in 4th grade, especially, and I think across all grade levels at Carrick right now, is having that driving force. Once you've made your plan, you have something to stick to that can help you start to tie everything in.
Thank you so much. And Danielle is right. This does look overwhelming at first, but we come at it with a team. So we've got 4 special area teachers working on this, 3 classroom teachers working on this, and I am also there to support, and often other teachers jump in. Our special education teachers are jumping in, admin may jump in. So there are a lot of people having discussions around this, and this is definitely one of the biggest reasons why I think we're all growing so well together, because we're all doing the work together. So thinking about what our next steps are at Carrick and where we are in the process, we really want to continue to strengthen our planning design. So thinking about that backwards planning design, where that compelling question is really the end task. This is what we want our kids to be able to understand and be able to create an argument and defend with reasoning and evidence their answer. And so what are those supporting questions that will drive them there? So we're really continuing to work on that. It's not easy. We won't lie. It's been a challenge. And it's definitely a challenge to get your standards to connect, because you have a lot of things going on in your mind when you're planning this way. But it's much easier when you have your standards written out. You know exactly what you want to do. Like Danielle said, you start with that compelling question and brainstorm all those supporting questions you think may align. And then we start looking for the resources to support those questions and that work. We're going to continue to work on increasing our interdisciplinary connections. Danielle mentioned math is hard to connect. That has really been the greatest subject area that's been a challenge for us. But you can imagine PE doesn't always connect to every single supporting question. Generally, writing, anything literacy-based, writing and reading, we can connect to anything. But some of the other areas are harder. So it takes a lot of brainstorming. And we want to continue to get better with that. And we also want to keep working on creating meaningful summative tasks. The thing fourth grade's doing with the Fraser Museum is very meaningful. They're living through this right now, and they can be able to showcase their work publicly and have some voice and choice in the way they do that. So we want to keep creating activities that have voice and choice for our students. And right now we're starting to lean into a little bit, how do we create a rubric that really gives us what we're looking for and guides the students' work? And then how do we make sure we're giving good quality feedback? Because we know feedback is what moves students. They need critical feedback. So we're keeping on in that process to move in that direction. And then we're wanting to find through NTI just better ways to help students showcase their learning with each other. So we have a lot of students that jump in on teachers' office hours and they want to come and share their work there, but how can we make it bigger? So we keep brainstorming and thinking of ways to do that. And so really thinking ahead, I really want you to hear from Danielle and Olivia how we think this type of planning is going to influence teaching and learning in the future. So, ladies, would you like to share your thoughts?
Yeah, so we have kind of talked about this together. We talked about using this in workshop to tie not only subjects together, but also teachers. We've worked really hard with special area teachers through this NTI process. And, if we were to work with special area teachers once we get back into the classroom to make sure that we're still continuing to work together and there's no disconnect, I can see where that would really help our kiddos. We also talked about in kindergarten, tying these into workshop and having things like shaded boxes or things to help kiddos decide things that they must do and things that they may do to kind of guide them, but help them support their learning. And we've also talked about how this can help with backpack artifacts too, in ways that students can really put lots of work and things in their backpack for that as well. Danielle, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I really wanted to emphasize Olivia's comments about special area and incorporating everything together, especially I know in the intermediate grades where I am currently, time is precious. Time is precious anywhere in school, but when we're sitting there with all of these loaded standards and we're thinking, okay, how do I fit in science and social studies and writing and get everything going? These choice boards are the answer. I'm thinking when we go back to the traditional classroom, how great would this be to have this in front of your students and them seeing how all the subjects tie together throughout the entire day in workshop, no matter if they're in reading, math, science, wherever they are, they're working on something for this choice board and seeing how all of these contents tie together. It's not a separate reading block, a separate math block. We're really maximizing our time by being able to do that. And we're also allowing special area to feel connected with our classrooms and our students to be able to dive a little bit deeper into these topics.
I agree with both of them. Also, in considering how hard it is in elementary to really have a big block of time to focus to content, we know that's a big challenge for us in the elementary grades, especially in primary. So look at the opportunity we're giving our kids to have rich access to content across the board, where they can focus on things that interest them and dig deeper in the learning and come up with brilliant ways of showcasing their learning, opportunities that we haven't really provided them before. So now they're going to be used to this because we've been doing this work during NTI. So next year just really opens the door to lots of possibilities. What I'm seeing as a coach through this work is that our teachers are really learning how to plan more rigorous activities. We're not doing simple recall and understanding. They're really amping up levels of Bloom's using this choice board and creating activities that ask our students to evaluate and create. So I really love the ideas that they have about bringing this work into workshop next year. And including content across all the disciplines. We did last year really try to tackle project-based learning, and the hardest part is getting together with all of the team, all of the special area teachers, and everyone who can have input to help strengthen those projects. And what we have found through creating choice boards is that it just lends a perfect way for everyone to plan together. So even if our special area teachers cannot join PLC because it's too much to ask that they join 6 or 7 PLCs every week, they can quickly go to the choice board, see the compelling question, see what supporting question might be helpful for them to create a task for the students and work on that board while they're not with us. And it still all goes toward the same message. And we really like the choice boards for that reason as well. So that's all we actually have for you today. So we thank you for joining us. You can reach out. Of course, we're on JCPS email, so feel free to email any of us if you have questions about this. And I really, really advise, if you're interested in doing this, to catch Ryan and Suzanne's PD today or tomorrow at 12:30. They go in depth about the research and the why and the how for using compelling questions to drive instruction. So thank you so much.
Well, that was another great session this afternoon from the teachers at Carrick Elementary and their journey towards building choice boards and utilizing compelling questions. And like Carrie said at the end, highly recommend that you check out Ryan New and Suzanne Kramer's other PD on that. It's, of course, available on the JCPS Digital Learning channel, and it's all about compelling questions. Before I sign off for this afternoon, I just want to remind everybody that we have another Twitter chat tonight at 8 p.m., and that's going to feature some of our high school digital innovation leaders, both on my team and some of the folks at the school level. So if you're interested in that, please join us on Twitter. You can be part of that conversation by using the hashtag JCPSDigIn. So thanks again for joining us today. Remember, we're always here for you. If you need support or have questions, just go to the JCPS Digital Learning channel and find any of the sessions that you're interested in. We'll see you tomorrow.